Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood. The Unabomber blowing up. Waco, Texas, and Heaven's Gates. Aliens modified men from apes. JFK shot in the head by the CIA. Bigfoot and the Mothman. Son of Sam talking to dogs again. Witches, ghosts, and goblins. Mysterious noise and hauntings. Dark arts in the skull and bones. Most celebrities are probably cloned. So if you're feeling all alone, crack a beer and get stoned. I welcome you to the podcast Strange Brew. We're here to entertain you. We're here to entertain you.
It's about to get strange.
A 6-year-old beauty queen.
Oh, hello. I'm JonBenét.
A mother's chilling call for help.
We have a kidnapping. There's a note left in our daughter's door.
Patsy Ramsey's daughter, JonBenét, would soon be found dead inside her Colorado home.
Was there an intruder or was the family involved?
And the parents would soon be under the microscope.
I did not kill my daughter, JonBenét.
That was December 1996. 28 years later, the case is still unsolved.
We're not asking you to clear us or apologize or be nice to us again.
But what John Ramsey is asking for, as he told true crime news host Anna Garcia in a headline-making exclusive interview, is for Boulder police to take a new look at evidence.
We've had unidentified male DNA from January 1997, and as one prosecutor told me, I've never ever seen a police department try to explain away unidentified male DNA in a sexual assault case.
I truly believe we can solve this crime.
Welcome, everybody, back to the show. Welcome to Strange Brew Podcast, everybody. I am Tomcat, a.k.a. Tom Thompson, the Reptilian. You can find my music on all music platforms. Just released a new song called Parasites in Parliament. It's a good one. People are really vibing it. So, yeah, welcome back to the show. I'm very excited for this episode. Who am I joined by?
Have we decided on my name, actually? I feel like a while back before I had like my big
Horror Boy.
near death experience. Was it Horror Boy?
Yeah, weren't you gonna call yourself the Parasite? Just kidding.
I could actually at this point. Strange. I've been feeling healthy for like 2 weeks now. Whoa,
Keep it up, man. Keep it up.
freaky. I was actually going to be quite controversial on this. Well, not necessarily for me, but for other people. And I was going to wear my fucking Trump "Make America Great Again" hat or whatever.
You actually bought one of those?
No, I got one as a gift, as like a joke gift.
So everybody, in the new year, there will be an episode out with I did an episode with this lady, this woman who does trans investigations into who in Hollywood and some of the major celebrities that we know of are supposedly transgender. She claims Trump's a woman. It's gonna be a fun episode for everybody because it's like
Fucking,
strange.
that's unique.
Yeah, I don't necessarily maybe believe it. Like, I think some of it might be possible. I do think that there are celebrities like maybe Lady Gaga and stuff like that that hide, and they worship Baphomet and all that weird stuff. So it will be exciting for people to hear because it's definitely a weird episode. But this is even stranger, a case that seems to never be able to be solved, which makes me question a lot of the motive and stuff behind, this is a weird one. This is a very famous case. Do you remember like the first time you heard about this?
I actually don't, but I don't know if I could pick a specific. Oh, that was the first time I heard about it, but
Yeah,
it's definitely it's one of those ones I think that's always been like in the zeitgeist, right? It's always
100%.
been out there, and I've always heard that name all the time. And
Yes.
I think maybe years ago I might have followed the case and went like down a rabbit hole, and then kind of forgot about it. And it's only in more recent times that I was like, oh yeah, remember that shit?
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Because that's like me too. I always remember hearing the name, even like from songs like, I don't know, Necro or something like that, where he like says her, like the Ramsey name, and it is really famous. And this is what eventually, if we do cover Madeline McCain, because you read a book all about that stuff, it is interesting how they focus on certain. Yeah,
I'm campaigning for that. If this goes well,
Yeah.
I'm campaigning for it.
Because I don't know, it makes me question why they focus solely on some cases, but like literally, like in Canada, it's like 45,000 children go missing a year. In the United States, it's way more. And those numbers are probably, we don't even know if they're accurate or not. Okay, we have people, we're live, everybody. So if you want to catch the show live, you can catch it live on Rumble, YouTube,
X is Strange Brewcast. We're even live on Entropy. So that's a very open platform. Entropy is a lot of people use that are really banned off of certain platforms. But yeah, you can support us if you like watching the show. Definitely do that. 5-star rating reviews, all of that. We appreciate anybody that does support the show and shares it. And like, this is an interesting case. And I just finished the Netflix documentary. That's what made me be like, hey, we got to do this. It's around Christmas. You know, I wanted to do it in December. And yeah, so let's get into it. I'll play something else.
Past Santa Claus in his sleigh and a double row of candy canes, deputy coroners brought the body of 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey from her upscale home. Neighbors described the young girl as beautiful and polite. In 1995, she won the Little Miss Colorado pageant. Boulder police won't comment on her cause of death, only saying that she wasn't shot or stabbed. They are investigating her death as a homicide. So far, no arrests have been made. This case started as a kidnapping. Police were called here to the scene at about 6 a.m. the morning after Christmas. Someone inside this house had made a 911 call saying that little JonBenét had been kidnapped. Well, when police got here, they went inside the house, and a short time later, they found the little girl's body. The parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, were home at the time, but detectives say the parents are not suspects. The father is the president of Access Graphics, located on Boulder's Pearl Street Mall. The couple does have another child, a son around 10 years old. Whether the boy is a suspect, investigators won't comment, saying only that right now, this murder investigation is wide open. In Boulder, Phil Keating, 9 News.
It's so funny. It's like they only can say that she wasn't shot or stabbed. Thank you. That's very informative. Was she involved in gang violence? You know, it's just like
that's literally nothing. Like, I mean,
yeah, it's still an open case. A lot of people may not know that too.
Is being just like, you know, oh, well, all we can say is she's dead.
Yeah, I know. That's what they do with everything, right? Like, especially all these people that like suddenly die. You're like, oh yeah, it's just happened.
Like, you know, and like how they kind of reference it, and like it's not just this case, but I've definitely heard cases before where they say things like they just come across really odd. Like, well, we can confirm that she's definitely not alive. Like,
yeah, it's so weird. And I'm going to be the pageantry thing is fucking.
Well, that's already just creepy.
Well, we'll show some videos later of her in her pageant, but like, that's not too bad. But there's some things that
yeah, but still, right? Even just put that image back up for a second, right? Like that to me looks like a fully formed woman in like a miniature body. It's really unsettling to think, oh, I'm looking at an actual kid.
Yeah, well, it's the makeup, I think. Yeah,
it's just like really uncomfortable.
It is like the makeup and the way they dressed her, and then people are like, it's just I don't know if it's just this fun thing, because it's a pageantry of essentially dressing up a kid as what a full-grown woman would wear to some sort of pageant, or like, you know, Miss Universe, and now it's a man for some reason, you know.
But like, what's the purpose?
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand. Like, what like.
I don't know why it came about, why they do it. You know what I mean? Why it's been a thing. You know,
like you could say, and I know there's probably lunatics out there who still love all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. Now, come on, like, come on.
That is very weird. So
and
for
like,
all the other listeners, we're obviously showing pictures of her in her pageantry outfits, and it's really weird. And honestly, like pedophiles and stuff like that hide in these places that are like, they go where children go, right? They're teachers, they're priests, you know, like they go, they're a pastor, right? They go where kids are. They're a Sunday school teacher, you know, they're Justin Trudeau, you know. It's just like
the problem, the other problem as well is, you see, when you question people who put their kids into stuff like that,
yeah.
The problem is they're going to say it, so the parents will say it, or the guardians, and then they've probably already brainwashed the kid as well into thinking, oh no, she really wants to do this. She likes to get dressed up like a princess and like do a whole thing, and that she just feels so amazing. She feels like a Disney princess. And it's like, yeah, but I don't know if any kid ever wakes up and goes, I want you to put me in like underwear and just like,
Yeah, I know. That's what literally this is. Like, and you think that some creep that is attracted to this shit wouldn't
be
go,
there?
yeah, wouldn't be there? Like, you kidding me? Like, it's
Wouldn't
fucking,
be a judge, wouldn't somehow like
yeah.
assimilate into all that and be like, yummy.
Well, look what when we start to get into stuff like even the clown killer, John Wayne Gacy, stuff like that. He like inserted himself into positions to be like, I'm a good guy. I work for the town. You know what I mean? I'm loved around the town. So it's very bizarre. So on December 26, 1996, John and Patsy, what a name, Ramsey, reported that their 6-year-old daughter, JonBenét Ramsey, had been kidnapped, and they found a ransom note demanding $100,018. I think that's how you'd say that. A few hours later, she was found dead. That's a very specific number too. In the family home in Boulder, Colorado. The shocking rumor of JonBenét Ramsey was just the beginning of a decade-long mystery. The discovery of JonBenét's brutally murdered body in the spare room of the basement of the family's mansion in Boulder, Colorado, shocked the nation. It was an event that unfolded after truly raised eyebrows and scratched heads to the extent that there is no definitive answer as what happened on that winter evening nearly 3 decades ago. Various suspects have been investigated over the years, including JonBenét's own parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, who have maintained their innocence from the beginning. No one has ever been charged in the child beauty queen murder, like a beauty queen and a child. It just sounds weird in general, but which is back in the spotlight following the release of Netflix Cold Case, Who Killed JonBenét Ramsey. While the timeline of the events leads up to discovery of the body are unclear, those that transpired after what happened and who killed JonBenét Ramsey are still unclear to the mass population.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. $118,000, not 1,000. Yeah, that'd be very specific. $100,018. It's just like super, super specific, just in case.
Are we going to talk about the? I'm assuming like why it's weird that was so specific.
No, can you enlighten me? If I may have it, I don't know.
So for people who may not know this, and
Vickers
I actually
Red is delicious. I'm eventually
Wow,
gonna
is
I'm
that
gonna do
some
dried
weird shit?
No, it's like a really nice. It's an
Dude.
Irish beer. They say
You've been doing dry January for the last like 4 years now.
it says it's an Irish red ale, and I think
have never heard of that.
yeah, I think it was made in America.
Yeah, I'd say it was. And I was like, oh, Ireland. Yeah, so like they find this ransom note, letter, whatever, and on it they were demanding $118,000.
It's made in Canada.
Which that amount matched the exact amount of a recent bonus that John Ramsey had received at work.
See, and how would they know that? That's what we'll get into the stuff about like 9/11 and like there's really weird conspiracy theories. So we're going to break down the timeline, and I'm going to do this in a nice wrapped up like a bow, since it's going to be Christmas kind of manner of we're just going to kind of break down a lot of the timelines because there's a lot to this case. So 3 days before JonBenét's body was found, a 911 call was made from the home. But on January 10th, it reported that it was likely a mistake made by a drunk party guest. According to CNN, I would never believe them. So December 25th, 1996, the Ramseys attend a Christmas party at a family friend's house. JonBenét gets a bike for Christmas after attending a Christmas party hosted by a family friend, Fleet White. What a name. Guy's name's Fleet White.
Now, this might sound a bit weird that I'm even having this thought process, but when you mentioned they're at like a party with different guests and they're going to different places, I can't help but think like, were these parents like creepy and like, going to like parties in other houses and being like, hey, JonBenét, why don't you put on your underwear and like do
dancing
cartwheels in
around.
the sitting room. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's a possibility that is the case. I
Like,
was
if you're
man, I
willing
would
for her
love to
to go
tell a
into,
story on the stream of something that I just heard recently, but like, it's crazy the stuff that some people don't know about other people. And I can't go on, but essentially that yeah, just someone involved with something along those lines of using kids and getting their own kid to like bring in kids to, it's so crazy, man. And this stuff happens all the time, and then people don't even realize it because it doesn't get mass attention. You know what I mean? There is theories that the brother did do it. We will get to that because that's weird, and he's a weird guy. What's his name again? He has a weird
Blake,
name.
is it?
What? No.
Or Burke?
Burke. Yeah, I was like, he has a weird name anyway. So she gets a nice bike, you know, maybe
yeah,
it's a bike without
like
a seat.
just to continue. Jesus
Jesus.
Christ. But just to continue on that like, as time has gone on more and more,
Yeah.
this whole family are fucking weird, man.
I know. Everything seems weird.
Yeah, everything about them is just weird. At first, it kind of on face value, it seems like, you know, oh, like this shit thing is after happening, and okay, maybe they're a bit weird to have their kid doing beauty pageants or whatever. But then as you start to kind of dive into the case, you're like, wait a second, these are actually fucking weirdos.
She seems weird. He seems weird. But then watching the Netflix thing and hearing him talk, I'm almost like, okay, there's something weird about you, but I kind of trust what you're saying. Like, you just got to watch people's mannerisms and their body language and stuff like that. And there's like things you got to look for cues. So she gets on her bike and she rides away. Just kidding. They go home and JonBenét goes to bed. And I was going to think, like, you can't name your kid JonBenét anymore. Like, there's no way. It's like Adolf, right? Like, you know, I'm going to
What
name
is that name even?
Well, it's supposed to be based on his name.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah.
I guess I can tell the stream now. I'm going to be a father, everybody. It's already out there. We released it. Yeah, pretty crazy. So I'm going to be a father. Where is my... Pretty crazy. I was like, I'll just mention it at some point in some episode. I'm very excited to be a father. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It's magic.
Interesting it will be, Tom. Interesting it will be.
That's scary stuff.
So... Yes, thank you, everybody. You know, and this is such an interesting case to begin with and stuff. I hear my cat freaking out over there.
I was wondering, I was actually checking my roadcaster going, where's that noise?
My cat is I think she's slowly dying because she's just gone mental and she just like wants so much attention. It's like wild. I think she's losing it.
You just leave it there. You're like, yeah, you can die. Who cares?
Oh, I've had her since I was 17, man. She's like 16, 17 years old or something shit. I think so. Yeah, crazy. It's like she's an old cat, but she's still kicking. So, yeah, some stories say that she snuck back downstairs and fought with her brother over a late night snack of pineapple, which sounds like some kind of swinger stuff, if you're asking me. Indeed, the undigested tropical fruit was found in her stomach. So when Patsy, this was in December 26th, the next day, you know, Patsy gets up to make coffee around 5:30 a.m., she discovers 2.5-page handwritten ransom note on the back stairs leading to the kitchen, and that says the daughter has been kidnapped. Pretty weird.
Can I dive into some of the letter?
Yeah, for sure. Because yeah. You pop in any time, and then I won't have to.
Should I read the whole thing or just go for like?
Can you do it in your voice?
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was planning to do. Which one, the scary one or the squeaky one?
I feel like this person is not really thought out well, so I think it'd be kind of funny for the squeaky one.
Can you bring that back up on screen again? Because I only have like random pieces of it.
Can you read that?
Is it this voice?
Yeah, I think the demon voice would be. I feel like you wouldn't be able to. It would just sound all. You could try the demon voice.
Yeah, let me see. The demon voice might just drown out though.
I know.
Hello. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work.
Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not all the something that it seems. I don't know. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size something bag to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation from my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for a proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter don't particularly like you, so I advise you do not provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory. SBTC.
It's so weird, man. Like just the whole like letter. We almost should have done the robot voice because they would be like, do you have the?
I need to actually download more voices, I think.
Can you do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, man. I need to get the new updated version. It is wild. It's such a weird letter to begin with, too.
I didn't realize how much of a issue I was going to have reading the actual writing. I was like, wow, this is like something that like she wrote herself.
That's what I'm thinking. It's weird. The letter is a very weird thing to begin with. We'll get to all the theories later. Yeah, I demanded all the stuff. So Patsy calls 911 anyway, even though they told her in the letter not to.
And weird, right? So they were like, if you call anyone, it's what was it? 99% chance that she dies.
And she was already dead, most likely.
And if you don't call anyone, you have 100% chance of seeing her again. And it's like, no, I guess you probably would. Well, would you call the police? Like, I don't know.
First instinct is to like, after that really threatening letter, is to be like, all right, well,
we're going to behead her if you do anything. Okay, let me do that thing first.
So let's play the phone call.
Police. What's going on? 515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? There's a note left and our daughter's gone. A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter? 6 years old. She's blonde. 6 years old. How long ago was it? I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's gone. Does it say who took her? What? Does it say who took her? I don't know. There's a ransom note here. It's a ransom note? It says SBTC. Victory. Please. Okay, what's your name? Are you Patsy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God! Please. I'm sending an officer over, okay? Please. Do you know how long she's been gone? No, I don't. Please, we just got out and she's right here. Oh my God, please. Okay, please, there's somebody. I am, honey. Please. Take a deep breath. Please, okay? Hurry. Patsy.
The body of JonBenét Ramsey, strangled and beaten, is found in the basement.
None of it makes sense.
What else don't we know?
Will whoever killed JonBenét Ramsey get away with murder?
Patsy. It's such a, the whole thing is weird, man.
I don't know, like she doesn't, for a start, right? She doesn't sound, now look, I know there's arguments there for, lots of different people react different ways, blah, blah, blah. I can't say that I wouldn't act the same, but I'd be lying if I didn't say, for me personally, listening to that, I'm like, that sounds like if you asked me to record a 911 call for the show and pretend to be panicked.
I think I would I'd be freaking out.
Like, she's very coherent for somebody who's like just realized.
You think you'd be bawling your eyes out and stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, because she's very like, yes, it's me. It's Patsy Ramsey, the mother. And I'm like, what?
Patsy. Who named her, man? Come on. And her name being Patsy, like, know what? I guarantee there's some sort of like conspiracy channel that's like, you gotta connect the dots, man. Her name is Patsy because she was a patsy in the murder of her own child. You know what I mean? It's weird. Just before 6 a.m., police officer Rick French arrives, good old French boy, at the home and does a search. He pauses by the door that JonBenét was later found behind, but doesn't open it. According to News Weekly, Linda Arndt was the first detective on scene, arriving about 2 hours later. JonBenét is still nowhere to be found. As the morning stretches on into the afternoon, Arnott instructs John and Fleet White, one of the friends that they went to the Christmas party for, to console the Ramseys to do a top to bottom search of the home for anything unusual. Just after 1 p.m., John opens the door to his basement spare room, sees JonBenét's body. So pretty wild that it took him, his own father, to find the body. It looks like she had been strangled and her mouth and neck wrapped, covered with duct tape. John removes the duct tape, picks up his daughter, and runs screaming upstairs. For everybody, later on, we will be showing, I have a video, it's about 4 minutes long, of all of the, essentially the crime scene photos. So be prepared for that. I'll wait till a little later because it's pretty disturbing. What began as a kidnapping takes a sharp turn. This is now a homicide. By bringing her upstairs and leaving the basement door open, much of the evidence is tainted. So, but to me, kind of, right? Like, JonBenét would have been 34 right now. Wow. She would have been literally a year older than me. Quick maths. I don't know. It's hard to say how you would react, right? Because if it was my kid, right? Like you'd be in shock, but then the cops would tell you probably not to touch anything. Like,
it was weird. Like they didn't secure. Yeah, like they didn't secure the house. It was like friends and family and everybody. There's another thing actually that I don't think you mentioned, that they rang all their fucking like friends and all, and were like, "Yeah, come over. JonBenét has after been kidnapped. Come on over."
All of this seems, I hate the word sus. Billy likes to use it, but it's suspect. Finish your words, everybody. The reason why you don't finish your words is because they're trying to dumb us down, because it's part of the cabal's agenda, okay, to make you dumb. Finish your words, man. It's okay. Use the English language, even though I butcher it sometimes, and I only speak one language. But it is weird.
Let me play devil's advocate here, and people are probably going to think I'm an absolute scumbag for, like, I keep pressing on the fact that they might actually be at fault. But I know if I had done something to my child, if I was them and I had done that or whatever, right? and I wanted to like cover it up and whatever. That's a really clever thing to do, especially in 1996.
Oh yeah.
Because you could technically pass that off as, oh, I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out. My daughter's gone missing. I find this note. So I just started ringing people close to me and like needed people around. And I was like freaking out and scared. And so it's really good, like, way to, like, I suppose, contaminate absolutely fucking everything.
Yeah, and that's what they like. It's on the police too, which, like, you know what I mean? People can say what they want. I'm not really a fan of police. I think they're just an authoritarian boot of the state. They're there to protect property and actually people, right? So, and then this has happened so often. You will hear it in future episodes that we'll cover when it comes to true crime, especially serial killers, where they don't do their due processing. It's just, you know, that's why you have to have serious people that take the job seriously, or you're going to have these guys that are like, stay another day in the job, and they don't really care about the evidence or what gets contaminated. They should have sealed off the house. They should have kicked everybody out. Like, there's things that they should have done that they didn't do. And it's on the fault of the police, to be honest.
Yeah.
For a lot of
In this
stuff.
case in particular, though, do you think that there's like an ulterior motive from the police, or do you think it's the fact that like they're just that incompetent and like don't know how to deal with this?
God knows, man. He was a rich guy. He was involved with Lockheed Martin and stuff. So I don't know. There's something like John Ramsey's. I don't know. There's something really weird about all this whole thing. You know, was it a ritual? You know, I don't know, man. The further I look into like conspiracy stuff and like some of the stuff that's been going on, I don't know. The more I'm like, I question like literally everything, and don't trust anything, right? So the family goes to the Boulder police station. I remember when it happened, the media leaned into the parents as the bad guys. Yeah, I'm trying to keep an open mind. I know, because you gotta look at it a fresh look. You know, and the letter does implicate that it was someone close, because they're like really trying to like push John and stuff like that. So, you know, the family goes to the Boulder police station. They're willingly give their hair, blood, and handwritten samples. The next day, Ramseys go back to the former hometown of Atlanta in preparations for JonBenét's funeral. The 6-year-old is laid to rest in Marietta, Georgia, next to her older half sister Elizabeth, who died in a car accident in 1992. A little, like, I don't know. About 200 family members and friends attended the ceremony at the family's old church. January 1st, 1997, John and Patsy give a New Year's Day interview. JonBenét's parents, who hired lawyers and private investigators to give a very difficult 45-minute long interview to CNN from Atlanta, where they now are staying with family. While Boulder police have been reassuring the community there wasn't a murderer on the run, they don't like to cause panic, but how would you know that? Patsy said on television, "There is a killer loose. If it was a resident of Boulder, I would tell my friends to keep your babies close. There's someone out there." She was a very hysterical woman. And there's some really suspect stuff about her. You know, it's weird. I didn't want to grab too many interviews of them, because everyone, if you want to like hear some of there's very long interviews online. Like, I was going to bring some of those, but I'm like, it's not necessary, because you can all look this up on YouTube if you want to know. Like, there's literally the full interviews of them, whatever they've done television appearances. She added, "America is suffering because we have lost faith in the American family." Oh, that's very true now more than ever. Citing the examples of the mystery of what happened to O.J. Simpson. "We're all Christian, God-fearing families. We love our children. We would do anything for our children. Except protect them from foreign invaders." The politics always get slipped in this. More on 1999's murder case. F. Lee Bailey stands and looks left. O.J. holds his fist in front of him and looks left. Johnny Cochran and stands and looks left. All three men wearing suits with ties. A timeline on O.J. Simpson's murder. Oh, around the same time, O.J. Simpson's murder. Interesting. Eventually, maybe we'll get into Lyle and Eric Mendez at some point, because that just came out too. Like, I would cover them just to do our own spin on it. Strange Brew does do its own kind of thing when it comes to especially true crime. That's literally what we're labeled as true crime and comedy. So inside of a courtroom, a wooden table face down, Lyle is wearing a blue prison outfit. Eric is wearing a gray prison outfit with long white t-shirts. It's this idea about what was going on at the time, right? There was a lot of this thing of, murderers and are people innocent? Are they guilty? OJ was 1,000% guilty. He put the glove on like this. Me and Billy were talking about it during the Halloween special. It's like I would cover that at some point too. I think it would be fascinating to cover it especially more of the conspiracy sides of that stuff. 1997, investigators follow the family to Georgia. A team of 5 detectives from Boulder fly to Atlanta. According to CNN, investigators were shocked that the Ramseys granted TV interviews since they claimed to be too emotional to talk to the police. Very strange. They searched for clues in Georgia. Days later, authorities also searched the Ramseys' vacation home in Michigan. January 3rd, 1997, detectives revealed the ransom note was written inside the house, which, it's just bizarre in general. And meaning likely it was written after the murder, the same day John and Patsy returned to Boulder.
Yeah, and there's a lot of weird shit, isn't there, where it's like they said that it was written on a notepad that came from the house, and it was also other pages had been torn out of that. And it was like they got the impression like it wasn't the first draft of the ransom note. And just like
that seems weird. Because you'd see the imprints on the paper and stuff too.
So just think about that for a second, right? Let's say me and you break in or whatever and we kill her and we're gonna stage this ransom thing.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna stand in the house like fucking Harry and Marv.
Oh yeah, I just watched that actually recently. Both of them.
And write a fucking 2.5-page ransom letter. What was it again? They I did have it here somewhere, the specifics of it. But they had after looking at how many words and how long it was a 2.5 letter ransom note, and they reckoned it would have taken a certain amount of time. I can't remember exactly how long.
Yeah.
To have written the ransom note, which is what, you're gonna stand in the house that you've committed the crime in and write the thing.
It makes no sense. And you would I like telling embarrassing stories about myself. It's come natural on the show.
Just before you get into that, just to finish my talk, because then I'll forget it.
Yeah.
It just seems really weird how someone who could be that dumb, in the sense of can't seem to spell properly, have to scribble stuff out.
The grammar wasn't the grammar all out of whack and stuff too.
Yeah, terrible, and they're adding words in above it and shit like that.
Oh yeah, scribbling it out.
Yeah, and then they reckon on top of that was the second or third time that whoever done it tried to write it.
That's what.
And they done it, and they done it in the house, right? And just the whole plan they have as well sounds like something a child would come up with. And then you're telling me though that the same people or person that done that has been clever enough to not have gotten caught for the last 30 years.
I know. Even this photo is really weird. How old was the brother? So this is just around the time that she was murdered. So I'm figuring, I think he was 8 or something like that. That's just my guess. And yeah, I don't it. I was just laughing at the idea of the imprint. You know what I mean? The imprint on a book or whatever. When I was young, I was I'll just continue. I was I don't know, 8, and I wrote a letter to the Olsen twins, and it was imprinted in this Wolverine book that I had for literally years, where I could kind of make out what I was writing. Literally when I was a teenager, I found it, and I was like, oh man, it's such a loser. It's so cringy, man. It's so funny.
Actually, my grandmother found a recipe book thing she had, and she found some bullshit like that I had written, and it ended up with and I literally, she was like, "What's this?" And I just took it off and I just tore it into a million pieces. I can't even read the whole thing. I was just
so embarrassing. I was I think when I was 8, I was in love with the Olsen twins. Now
just the last, not the last comment, a couple of comments back, someone asked about handwriting analysis.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, just to kind of, I suppose, clear that up. That was why Patsy was a suspect for a lot of people. There was a lot of similarities between her handwriting actually and the note. But they say that the handwriting analysis was inconclusive.
Of course.
It was her notepad and pen. obviously, which suggests that it was written inside the house. The overly theatrical nature of the letter, with phrases like victory and small foreign faction, which seemed extremely melodramatic, which also kind of leans into supposedly how she would behave a lot.
She kind of looks crazy, man. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
she does kind of. Inconsistencies in time. People argued that the length and content of the letter were excessive for someone supposedly in the middle of a kidnapping or a murder. Why would a kidnapper take the time to write such a detailed 2.5-page note inside
Yeah, I
inside the
know.
victim's home?
It doesn't make sense, man.
Weird, man. I like.
This whole thing is so strange. Yeah, almost 10. So almost 10. Burke was almost 10. That's his fun name. Yeah, so the Burke was almost 10. That makes sense. He's a weird character. We'll get to him later, but
Yeah, her handwriting was deemed similar, but not a conclusive match.
of course.
And John Ramsey and other family members were also put under handwriting analysis and were all ruled out as the authors. However, the note appeared to have been written deliberately with many corrections and inconsistent slants, suggesting that it was written to try and obscure the true author's style.
Yeah, because like they can like analyze that stuff too, right? It's correct. They can like look at the stuff and be like, "Huh, like if I wrote with my left hand, what would it look like?"
Yeah. And like there's a lot of weird stuff in it, like
Yeah,
sounds
because
pretty
it's not. I
complicated.
don't think if it was Burke, because people question if Burke was the one that did it, or did he do it? We'll get to all the theories at the end. But did he do it and then Patsy wrote the letter because they were like all freaking out, like you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I mean, then also like the references from like Dirty Harry and that movie Ransom. So like the
Yeah,
phrase
that
"if we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies." That's like nearly mirroring lines from Dirty Harry. And a lot of people feel like that was another thing that was like they took stuff from pop culture to try and like stage a
So
certain
weird.
scene or whatever.
So weird. So yeah, the ransom note comes out. Evidence that the alibi for JonBenét's older half brother is re-examined. He and JonBenét's half sister Melinda were out of town when the youngest siblings were killed. When they arrived in Colorado shortly after hearing the news. The next month, police clear both suspects. We just talked about the handwritten analysis. So while the Colorado Bureau of Investigation had already conducted a DNA test, a second one was completed by Maryland's Cellmark Laboratories, according to Denver Post, nearly 6 weeks later. Sources report that there is no surprises in the results of the DNA, but don't provide specifics because there was DNA found, I'm pretty sure, inside of her vagina. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
there
that's so
was
fucked up.
there was definitely some weird weird shit there, like the unidentified male DNA on her underwear.
Yeah.
The possibility of a stun gun have been used on her.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
And I think they actually, when they done the autopsy, there was like signs of like prior ongoing like sexual abuse.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, man, I don't know.
Which is also just like, like, are all these things just coincidental? Like,
But I like then wouldn't that be the case if it was the parents or someone close to them? It's always a close family member, right? So
like, no, it could be just right. It could be just really unlucky that the girl managed to get like killed or whatever by some random lunatic or outside source while she was in the process of being brought to beauty pageants and then fucked by her dad.
Yeah.
Like, she could have been just really unfortunate and just had like, a series of unfortunate events. But like, it does seem a bit coincidental that
And
your
Jim
parents would-
Carrey's not there cracking jokes, so
yeah, lemony snicket. That they wouldn't fucking, I don't know, that just your parents are exposing you to this stuff, and then all this weird stuff comes out, and like the brother's a weirdo, and like
I know.
the dad is like super connected and kind of weird, and the mother just seems like, I don't know, there's something about the mother that really sets me off. I'm like, the alarm bells are like, okay.
I know. So let's just let's show a clip of her in her pageantry stuff because we're bringing it up. It's very weird.
Name and how old you are.
My name is JonBenét Ramsey, and I'm 5.5.
5.5. Okay, keep on doing that. Okay. What is your favorite animal at the zoo?
The monkeys, because they laugh and stuff and hang around.
I don't know what's with the weird Asian music, but like, okay, think about this too, right? What I collaborated some of the videos of her being in her pageantry and stuff like that, and I was like, why is it this thing where she like takes off articles of clothing and then kind of like holds them up and then you know what I mean? Like that to me is very weird. Like, why is that a thing? It's and then like the fucking caked on makeup and the earrings and trying to make children look like adults is very strange to me.
Yeah, like I just don't know if I can, like, I don't think there's any argument that like you can make me be like, oh yeah, cool.
I know. I'm sure we'll get to that. The body was wiped down, redressed.
Does anyone
Anyway.
know if she went that day Christmas if she was wearing winter clothes or cesspool of DNA?
Yeah,
I mean, like, but just the stuff like, look, unidentified male DNA on her underwear. Now, right? Here's another thing. So a lot of people would take that and go, right, okay, so that obviously means that another man was involved in her murder. Not necessarily, because that just may mean that her parents were basically pimping her out to neighbors or friends, whatever, at these creepy fucking parties.
God knows, man.
You know, that doesn't necessarily mean, again, another really, if I was going to be really clever and like murder my own child or do something, there's a lot of like things here that line up. So I let all my friends into the house to ruin the fucking the crime scene. I already know there's going to be signs of sexual assault on her and like other men's DNA that's not mine. So that's fine. I can let them find that. Do you know what I mean? There's just like nobody seemed to. Did they ever really get asked any of these questions though? Like, what's the story? Like, why is she show signs of sexual abuse? Why is there a man's DNA in her underwear? Can you explain any of this?
That's even what it's funny because it's even what her own father said, right? In that clip to play at the beginning of like, yeah, like it's the only thing that's like there's DNA, but yet it was never solved through DNA. Even though like they found the golden, I think that's who it is. Eventually, it'll be interesting to talk about is the Golden State Killer. They found his DNA. His DNA was on whatever certain victims, and they didn't find him till he was like in his 80s, I think, because his daughter did ancestry.com or something. His granddaughter did ancestry.com, some like crazy story like that, and they found him through that, which is so crazy. So, and this is when around April 1997 is the parents become prime suspects in the investigation, according to CIA. And obviously the focus is on these people, Boulder District Attorney Alex Hunter says. April 30th, 1997, so they questioned the parents. JonBenét's parents are formally interviewed by the police for the first time since the daughter's murder. The John's interview lasted 2 hours, while Patsy's lasted 6.5. Their new statements replaced the initial ones they made right after the murder. Very strange. So crazy. I can't remember much about this case. It has been a long time. Yeah, I appreciate anyone that does tune in because we're covering, stuff that the Netflix thing came out and I was like, yo, we should cover this. I've always wanted to do it and I wanted to do it justice. We were debating on doing it in 2 parts, but I was like, no, we can cover this in 1 part. I hate doing 2-parters. Aaron knows that. I will be amped up for 4 hours. He saws it. He sees it. We did Jimmy Savile, and I was at the end still amped up 4.5 hours later.
It all depends on the source material, I think, for me. Like something like Jimmy Savile, I didn't mind because we all dressed up like Jimmy Savile. So.
If you guys have never seen the episode, it's wild. We literally dressed up like Jimmy Savile. So bad. So poor taste, but it was fun. It's so crazy because as I did a Billy when we covered Richard Ramirez, I was like, you have to we're laughing way more than we should be, but like it's because I have to make light of these dark situations. Like, and I always take that quote from your old Irish granny is like, if you're not laughing, you're crying. Right. This is definitely one of the most significant cold cases, like most famous, I feel, right? So John and Patsy speak to the media in May the 2nd. They sit on a sofa together and hold hands and, and they print up this poster. I think it's this image where they're like, if anyone knows about our daughter and her whereabouts. Honestly, it's sad. $100,000 reward. It's sad, but like, I don't know. Most times in this case, if it's been this long, they're
really what would it really like twisted the knife if they had made a reward $118,000.
Yeah, it's so fucked. So John and Patsy gave multiple high profile interviews in the year after their daughter's death. Very weird. The victim parents talked to local news and press. John stumbles over his daughter's name and addresses the rumors of her possibly being sexually molested, calling those most hurtful innuendos. Patsy says, I'm appalled that anyone would think that John or I would be involved with such a horrendous and hideous crime, but let me assure you, I did not kill JonBenét.
I don't know. Again, it sounds like a pre-rehearsed, like, here's your speech.
I know.
And she's even dressed like the first lady or something. I'm like, what's going on with that?
Everyone's chirping me for that fuck up. Yeah, for some reason I can't read money or last names. Me and Billy did an episode about villains of history. It's now on Patreon. I was reading like dates wrong and shit. This is when we were drinking very heavily. I was like 1082. Like I was like 1082. I was like fucking it all up. And I'm like, this happens, man. We're free formed. So, and then John, Patsy, and their son Burke returned to Atlanta for good. With the former beauty queen's belongings in tow. Autopsy reports. The previous sealed autopsy results are released. The coroner determines JonBenét was strangled to death. Among other injuries, she suffered a 8.5-inch skull fracture and showed signs of sexual assault. This included blood, abrasions, and bruising in the vaginal area. That's so fucked up, man. And the addition to the deep ligature mark on her neck, JonBenét had on her right wrist. Records also indicate the girl had bruises and marks on her shoulders, legs, and feet. Everybody, it's about to get disturbing, so sit tight. Oh, we'll talk about that. That is coming. She became Katy Perry. Do a side-by-side. We're going to get to the crazy conspiracies at the end. Don't you worry. So let's play this disturbing video so I can pee.
I was a child, beauty queen, JonBenét Ramsey, made me pretty. talking to a stray dog. Put the money in a brown bag. Not the only fat cat around. So don't think killing will be difficult, John.
It's the American dream gone bad. You've got murder, you've got a small child. It's absolutely perfect for today's television.
In my special white blanket tape covered my mouth. An unknown dweller laid me down in the wine cellar of my father's house. Silence bends the ground. These stories will become too heavy to hear. You'll rub your face and pull your hair. The unsolvable fate even after years today.
There was a macabre fascination with this beautiful child.
Such a tragedy, John. Could have done everything right to save me. It's a shame how you let me be. A world you kept me pretty.
The video of JonBenét's performances was aired and re-aired on stations across the country.
Nylon cord around my neck, a wrist tied up above my head. The word of signs, the signs been spread in this wine cellar where I am dead. I was a child, beauty queen, JonBenét Ramsey made me pretty. I was 6 years old. Silence and phones made me pretty.
That song was giving me chills, man.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what the fuck was that?
Somebody is obsessed with JonBenét Ramsey on YouTube, and they have like a bunch of stuff like this. It's very creepy for all the audio listeners. Like we're just showing all the crime scene evidence, and it's like disturbing, right? The thing tied around her neck is just fucked up. To see that stuff.
Yeah, it really makes it like pretty grim, right?
Yeah, and people, this is somebody did this to a child, and this stuff happens a lot more often than people want to admit, and we just keep passing it by. We just keep, it's rough, man. It's crazy for people not to understand how, this goes beyond just one child. This happens almost every day. The person that created the Amber Alert system was Ghislaine Maxwell's sister. So if your phone actually, if that site actually worked, if the Amber Alerts actually worked, your phone would be going off every 2 minutes. That song is mad creepy though, dude. Whoever made that song.
Yeah, you're right actually about the Amber Alert thing, because if that is the case, then it should be going off every 2 seconds, because last year alone, 456,000 kids went missing. in the United States. So, and that's the reported ones.
I know.
So, if you were to do the maths on that, right?
Yep.
How many times would that have to go off?
I know. Right. So it's it's very disturbing. After questioning several neighbors about owning a stun gun, a lawyer for the Ramseys reports that the family isn't surprised and never had such weapon. We have known about the use of a stun gun in this murder for many months. Raquel Zimmer says, according to Los Angeles Times, at the request of the law enforcement authorities, we have not previously disclosed it. Police refused to comment. The police refused to comment. There's so many weird things in this whole case, man. January 15th, 1998, the Ramseys refused interview with authorities. The Ramseys are asked to review evidence before giving more interviews to the police. The request is rejected, according to the Denver Post, which is interesting because it's like, can you force them? If involved, especially in a murder, I get other things, but especially like a murder, right? So, and then January 29th, 1998, John and Patsy submit their clothes they were wearing. They could have washed them a million times before this. The police fuck ups on this shit is like wild. 2 months after the police requested that the parents hand over the clothes they were wearing of the night of the crime, the Ramseys turn in 2 shirts and a pair of pants and a sweater. Grand jury investigation, March 10th, 1998. D.A. Hunter considers a grand jury investigation with the police department's list of items to be accomplishments narrowing. The issue of a grand jury is more serious topic, and this is being given serious considerations. Boulder District Attorney Alex Hunter tells the Denver Post, a grand jury offers the option of subpoenaing the witnesses in a murder case that is now 15 months old. June 3rd, 1998, evidential investigation continues. The case lead investigator Mark Beckner says that there's significant results from the 1,058 pieces of evidence taken from the home. Details aren't shared. In June 1998, JonBenét's brother Burke is questioned. JonBenét's older brother Burke, who was 9 at the time of the crime, is questioned for the first time in Atlanta. He is now 11. A retired FBI agent previously told the New York Times that the murder was too sophisticated for a child to commit. Additional prosecutors Jesus Christ, man, I can't talk right now. They questioned him separately, John and Patsy. So I don't know why they would be questioning him together in the first place if they did do that. I know it's like, what's wrong with people? Really nice house. They obviously had money. People suck. My daughter was a couple years old when it happened at the time. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to look at that stuff or even pay attention to the case, especially if you had a daughter around the same age. It would be too disturbing. And then in July 1998, documentary features interviews with John and Patsy. Avoiding the public comment for many months, John and Patsy participate in a documentary about their daughter's murder, the case of JonBenét. The Media versus the Ramsey airs in the United Kingdom, and investigators, it's critical of the media's coverage of the case and later is broadcasted in the States in September. In August 6, 1998, Denver detective Steve Thomas resigns, calling this case crippled. And then in August 19th, 1998, White asked the DA to be dismissed, and that's, I think, their friend. The family friend, Fleet White, asked to have someone other than Hunter assigned to JonBenét's case. So there is a detective that I find really weird. It's a female detective. I'm gonna sound sexist. I think that sometimes females' emotions can outrule logic, and that's just because they're very empathetic creatures to begin with. Not creatures, but things of this world. You know.
You're deep in this hole now.
But I do think that is the case, right? And I stated this that I'm not going to go any further, but. I have questions about what people should be doing and stuff. crazy. I wish I could stick around. Yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good. Everybody joining the live, I appreciate you guys popping your heads in and stuff like that. So I just want to play a clip of
They
this.
say love the what?
Let me bring that back up. Love the coffee cup, though. Thanks and keeping me entertained.
Is that me?
I don't know. Is it? I wonder if it is. Or did he buy one from our site? Who knows? You can buy merch at strangerpodcast.com. Who knows if he's talking to his homie in the chat. But so we'll play a clip of I had to just get a little bit of this. This was like one of the lead detectives. She's like, I think just something's wrong with John. I can feel it. Like I remember I saw her on the Netflix documentary and I was like, there's something crazy about this lady. Okay. Just watch her mannerisms, watch her eyes. This lady is nuts.
A nonverbal exchange that I will never forget. And he asked if she was dead. And I said, yes, she's dead. And I told him to go back to the room and to dial 911. And as we looked at each other, I remember, and I wore a shoulder holster, tucking my gun right next to me and consciously counting, I've got 18 bullets.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't know if we'd all be alive when people showed up. I said everything made sense in that instance. And I knew what happened.
Do you think your fear was well-founded?
You bet I do. There's no doubt in my mind.
To this day?
Never wavered.
You were afraid because you thought the killer was still in the house.
I knew it.
Absolutely?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Whoops.
She seems very suspect. Like her eyes, like she seems like she's too involved in the case and being very melodramatic of like, I remember counting the bullets in my gun. And, I don't know if you're gonna make it alive. It just seems very weird.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but she looks like she's on drugs or something. But
I know. I'm like, so like that's what I'm like. How can you be responsible for
even the way like her mouth, she's like,
I know. Everyone's on drugs nowadays, so God knows, right? So originally, the Ramsey said that Burke was asleep the morning his sister was discovered missing and didn't wake up until police arrived. However, the 911 tape has been enhanced. Burke's voice is reportedly they could hear him in the background. September 15th, 1998, the grand jury begins their investigation. September 24th, 1998, another detective quits. Citing too much focus on the Ramsey parents, homicide detective Lou Smith quits and says in his resignation letter, a very dangerous killer is still out there. This gives the Ramseys fuel they need to convince the authorities to shift the focus of the investigation. October 13th, 1998, the grand jury focuses on they begin hearing the forensic evidence. December 3rd, 1998, more family DNA is collected. January 28th, 1999, a teddy bear takes center stage. Investigators appeal to the online community to try to find the information about the Santa Claus teddy bear that reportedly was found in JonBenét's bedroom. They hope to find maybe the manufacturer who sold it. That's such a strange thing, but
is that misdirection though? And being like, yeah, let's focus on this bullshit that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. There's I don't know, man. This whole thing is
so right. Let me just to recap for a second before we go any further in the story.
Yeah.
So they go home from this party, this Christmas party.
Yeah.
And everybody goes to bed, right?
Yep. That's the idea of what they claim, right?
Okay. So at some point then, if we're going by like their version or like the official whatever, at some point in the night then somebody gets into the house.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And takes her from her room, murders her, and sexually assaults her and puts her down in the basement.
That's what they
and then
claim.
comes back up into the kitchen,
Writes
writes a
the
2.5
letter.
page letter, and then
Yeah.
leaves without leaving any other evidence, right? And
Yeah.
then they wake up and go, "Oh my God, a letter, call 911. Whoa, it's me, the mother," and do all that shit.
Yeah.
The police come, and then after all that, the dad is like, "Oh, look, wow, I found her dead body. Weird."
Yeah, all out of nowhere, he like goes to check the basement. Like all this stuff is so suspect, man.
Just very weird. Like, it's a very weird, and like they must have been really, really good to be able to get into that house and kill her in there without anybody waking up or like hearing
I
anything.
know. There was a funny old lady on the Netflix doc where they showed this clip, and it's like, and she's like, look at her thrust playing the saxophone, and she's like just like dancing, and it doesn't seem like there's any sexual. Did you watch the Netflix one?
Yeah.
Okay, it didn't seem like, I thought that old lady was reaching a bit though. Like with some of the stuff, I'm like, yeah, that like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
seems more wholesome to me. Whatever. I don't think they need to doll them up, but like you heard just playing a saxophone and and a dress, the stuff like this is what makes me be like, all right, you're making a prime season for predators on your daughter. You know what I mean?
It's just, it's just a step too far for me. I just can't imagine
Yes.
myself being like, yes, this is a really good idea.
Especially the amount of people that we're bringing from countries that have child brides, man. People need to be very hold your kids close, man, because the type of people that we're bringing into the Western world literally will do horrible things to these children. I'm not kidding.
And then chop our heads off in the process.
Yeah, and then call us racist while they do it.
Yep. Welcome to Ireland or
Yes.
England, sorry, or Canada, sorry,
or Sweden or fucking Netherlands or fucking everywhere, literally. So they start to like they get the teddy bear on trial. Yet another detective resigns, Linda Arnett. I think it might be that crazy lady, because of all the criticism over the initial investigation. Because, like I presume, she probably was being a little too emotional. Burke is no longer the suspect in May 1999. Now 12 years old, Burke is secretly questioned by a grand jury and is officially declared a witness only, not a suspect. September 13th, Detective Arnett says, oh, he knows who killed JonBenét. So, like, his name is Linda. That's weird. I feel bad for you, sir. If two people have the same name, is very strange. Interview on Good Morning America. Linda Arnett, Arnett says he knows who kills JonBenét. September 30th, 1999, JonBenét's half-siblings testify. John and Andrew Melinda, who were cleared in March 1997, testify in front of a grand jury. And then on October 13th, 1999, the district attorney says there is no significant evidence. Alex Hunter says there's no significant evidence to charge anyone in this case. With that, the grand jury investigation is over. The mom does have crazy eyes. Everyone's starting to notice that in the chat.
Yeah. I'm telling you, she is psychotic, whether she's guilty or not. You also have to think internet wasn't really a thing back then. It was harder to make an opinion. You couldn't just go and search for interviews, etc., and watch them over and over.
100%.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With the internet being, and I think you couldn't like just go. That's what's interesting, right? Like now, a lot of stuff. I could point to a lot of things that you're like able to look up, like I don't know, stuff like why did World War I and II happen? You know, just things I'm really fascinated by right now. I've been watching too many things about it. Is like, yeah, now we have the advent to be able to look at these things and scrupulously, is that a word I want to use? Scrupulously look at them and like look at markers and identifications of why things happened. And I don't know, it's so strange. And it's just so crazy because like I'm like a believer in the afterlife and what's going on. Like, I don't know. I couldn't imagine where her soul is, what happened. Is she being consumed by reptilians? I'm kidding. Like, that's very dark, but like, it's just very sad for this to happen to such a young girl. And then like, where does your soul go, man? When you're like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a crazy, like it's so, and some of this happens so often, but this is such a infamous case where like it seems like everybody knows her face. You know what I mean? The name is so big. Just this young, very innocent, blonde, blue-eyed white girl. And that's why people like they all complain about like there's only or focusing on the white girl or whatever. But this was like a weird case to begin with, right? There's a lot of people that do go missing under the radar. A lot of Indigenous women go missing in Canada. Nobody seems to care. Nobody cares a lot about all the children that go missing. It's just certain cases like this.
Here's something really bizarre and weird that I just found.
Oh yeah, the parents have ties to the military and stuff, and Lockheed Martin.
Check this out. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
Okay. Oh, wasn't Patsy found Patsy at
yes, and now it's starting to make a little bit more sense. My mom found this board game at a thrift store back in the mid 1990s. Years later, we realized Patsy Ramsey was in it, so she kept it all those years. Just found it while going through some stuff in the basement. So she was in the Miss America board game.
Wow, that's so crazy. I forgot that because I don't have that down. That Patsy was also a beauty queen. So then they're influencing their daughter, and like, okay,
weird, man.
That's very weird. And listen, this is why people like conspiracy theorists, like especially like I'm a full blown tinfoil hat. Like I wear a suit of tinfoil. You know what I mean? So like it is this weird thing of is this some sort of like weird ritual that took place? God knows. I'm not going to point at that kind of speculation and that kind of conspiracy theory aspect to it, but it is very weird. Of all of this stuff. Oh yeah, we're looking at the ransom note. It's very similar, man. It's almost identical.
Wow.
That's crazy, man. And I forgot that she was also like, to me, I'm trying to be devil's advocate of like, okay, like you were a beauty queen and now you're trying to live out your years and live vicariously through your daughter. You know what I mean?
Like how like
it's very on point.
They're not like very similar.
How is that not a case for like, okay, that's, you know what I mean? How is that not like
a lot of people on that JonBenét Ramsey subreddit seem to feel that they would have been charged with murder if they were poor or like middle class, whatever, because they had money. A lot of people reckon that they didn't, like, which you could say is a thing because what happened with Madeleine McCann and her parents, two like pretty well respected doctors, and
there's some conspiracy theories about that stuff, man. And it's like some really weird stuff. It is because they had money and he was connected to maybe some military contracts with people from Israel. There is some shit like that, man. Once you start to look into the real deep conspiracies, they had money and they had connections. It's very true, Hell Bunny. So, so then you have this where, they're going to publish a book. The Ramsey published a book. John and Patsy released The Death of Innocence about their daughter's murder, along with a publicity campaign to promote their book. Imagine how much money they made off of the book, right? And then May 24th, 2000, John and Patsy held a press conference. During a news conference, JonBenét's parents announced a lie detector test confirmed they are innocent of their daughter's death. We shouldn't have to prove our innocence, but nevertheless, we have been forced to. John says, according to Los Angeles Times, we have not 1 ounce of trust in the Boulder police. However, because the test wasn't run by the FBI, the results aren't accepted by the investigator. They got somebody else that John knew most likely to run the lie detector test, which aren't admissible in court because you cannot use them. They're fucking fraudulent. Even if people think they're not correct in any way, you could trick them. You could just be nervous, even doing it, and then it will fuck it up. Cops would be much more cautious about throwing accusations at people with money. Yeah, lawsuits and all that stuff. And not to mention, I don't know, did he have connections to people that are higher up than we understand? The connections to 9/11. Well, maybe you could eventually do a conspiracy theory episode about that at some point, because there's more than people understand. If I actually dig for it, I'll find it. And I don't know. There's just so many questions and so many weird things about this case where I'm like, were they paying off the police?
Yeah, well, like there's like that thing I said that someone had said they're if the Ramseys were poor, they would have been charged with murder. The fact that they were well off meant that they got away with it. It seems blatantly obvious to me after all these years of researching that awful ransom note. It clearly seems like Patsy who wrote it. It rambles like her, and the writing nearly matches 100%. In an interview, she called herself out by saying only 2 people know who did this. And then when asked what she meant, she backpedaled by saying the person who did it, and then they obviously confided in one person because that's what you would do. The Boulder DA's office was essentially like the Ramseys' backup defense attorney team. Alex Hunter did some crazy shit to aid the Ramseys, forked over everything to the defense team at weekly meetings, hired Lieutenant Smith to explore IDI theories, obstructed the police and FBI, overruled the grand jury indictment. They would never do that for a poor person of no influence. CEO of $1 billion company, on the other hand, ...
Yeah, he's making tons of money. But see, some people think polygraphs are junk science, and then there is like Mythbusters. Who owns Mythbusters, man? I wish I had my little button.
Get a life, Jews.
So I was gonna be like super offended by that, but I don't know. Just like start paying attention to stuff, and you'll like find out why this stuff is going on. March 2001, the Ramsey filed a libel lawsuit against the former detective. Upset by a November 2000 book that points the finger at them, Patsy and John sue its authors. Then June 24th, 2006, Patsy dies of cancer. Was that Jesus? Could Mythbusters put out propaganda? Maybe. I just actually like watching Mythbusters.
Adam Savage has a pretty good YouTube channel called Tested.
I did like a lot of their stuff. It was when they started leaving, and that Asian guy and that blonde, I think she's kind of blonde, the lady that was there, like, I was like, nah, this is kind of boring, man. I kind of like those two doing their thing.
Yeah.
And realistically, if me and you could make a show like that and just like test things and have money to do it, I would love to do that. Here, let me blow this thing up with this V2 rocket.
And just see what happens.
Our first episode, right? I already have it in mind. Did Hitler fake his death? Just like test it out. I'll dress up in a mustache and we'll blow me up. We'll put like what's that guy that the guy they used to, the body double guy they would use. Put him in a bunker, we'll throw some grenades in there, blow it up, see what happens. See if you could sneak out of there, build some underground tunnels.
There's just like the more I'm like reading about this now again, I'm like, oh yeah, remember that thing? Oh yeah, remember this thing?
I know.
And it's like the amount of people as well out there I didn't realize who think that like their money was a big factor in all this as well. Like somebody else says their money definitely gave them the ability to avoid talking to the cops before they got their ducks in a row. And their money has allowed them to control the narrative of the case, even to this day. The Boulder police's incompetent handling of the crime scene the first day,
100%.
failing to secure the scene from the moment one, and failing to separate and question the family led to this case becoming unprosecutable even before they found the body. The police deference to them, undoubtedly partially because of their resources, sunk this case before it was ever really launched.
Yeah, even looking at the basement view, like there's the broken window. The guy, like, there is a detective that says that it's possible that you could have broke in to the and crawled down and stuff like that and got in and gone out. When we get to the theories, there is that really creepy pedophile that admitted to doing it, but I don't believe him.
Wasn't there also a broken basement window?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking.
Said, yeah, but they were like, "Oh no, it's probably not anything to do." Not sure.
I don't know. The cops seem suspect. Like, were they taking the? I don't know, man. They were, you know what I mean? Were they taking money? You two would be perfect for a show to be like weird, Jersey, PA, etc. I would watch. Oh yeah, I would love to film some stuff. We've talked about doing docs and stuff like that. Aaron just lives on the other side of the fucking world, so we have to. Oh, the window was broken from the inside. That's interesting.
I want to go fucking hunt cryptids or something.
Yeah, me and Aaron are gonna film each other, and I'm gonna take a bunch of mushrooms, and I'm gonna make him take a bunch of mushrooms, and then we're gonna go look in the woods for cryptids, and we'll probably just be lost and ramble on about nonsense.
That's weird. I didn't know that as well. They retained the #1 criminal defense firm in Colorado with political connections all the way up to the top, with conflicting interests in Boulder DA office. Hired a top-notch PR team to start controlling the narrative, stop spreading any negative narratives. Refused to talk with law enforcement and instead used the PR team to set up on-air TV interviews where no questions were asked and only scripted statements read. In that interview, if you haven't seen it, when John went on that we were told to look at the family first, and it's just a sad thing for this country that has to change. Such a weird thing to say at that time. He is going to be figured out eventually for the killer he is.
That's interesting. And is he that manipulative where he's able to construct these stories? And were they involved with some sort of like, I don't know, ritual murder, and he was able to get away with it? And he's very collected and collected in the way he speaks and stuff like that, where you see this with like serial killers too, right? Where they're like, they know everything they're going to say when they say it. They're calculated in a way that most people wouldn't realize. I don't know. There's something weird. Look at that looks like 100%. The letter does look like there's the garrote wire that was choked to death. It's sad. But the letter looks like somebody who was like trying to make it look like somebody else wrote it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was some investigator, I think, that was involved in it, done a fucking an AMA on Reddit a while back. And he said that the weirdest thing was anytime they weren't on camera, they were like extremely distant from each other.
I could see that. They got beds across the room from each other. So weird.
It just reminds me so much like of the later case of Madeleine McCann, like where Jerry and Kate McCann, just two fucking oddball, like had friends in high places, like were friends with the Prime Minister of England at the time, and all this similar stuff, like again, where it's like they didn't have to give interviews and all this stuff was all done through like PR teams and just really weird shit.
What makes me question it though, because I do think there's like ritualistic murder and stuff that's going on behind the scenes, and higher ups and gaining power and leverage over a population. Yeah, the whack job who falsely confessed to killing her was some sort of kind of teacher teaching little Asian kids. Well, yeah, that's that pedophile guy. That's this guy. We'll get to him near the end. I think I have an image of that weirdo somewhere. Yeah, it's I don't know. There's some things. Yeah, I do. I swear I did. And there's the house. It is. I don't know. This whole thing is just so strange to me. I swear to God, I had an image of that guy. But and then showed Patsy dies of cancer. Oh yeah, the American teacher is arrested in Bangkok, which capital of Thailand, Bangkok. Follows months of the investigation. I love JonBenét. John Mark Karr said at the press conference after his arrest, according to The Guardian, I was there when she died. She died accidentally. And this fucking maniac, dude, like, let me finish this. The 41-year-old is flown back to Colorado to face charges that never materialized. Aspects of the confession don't add up, including the suspect's DNA isn't a match. And on August 28th, Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey moves to dismiss the case, writing, we would not be able to establish that Mr. Karr committed these crimes despite his repeated insistence that he did, according to Los Angeles Times. I think he was obsessed with her. But some of the shit that dude said is like fucking creepy. Like he's like, we had this mutual relationship, and he's talking about her like they were like, I think he was fascinated by the case. I think he was probably in love with the image of her. And then he made up this grandiose story about it, and it's like so bizarre to me and so weird because he was like saying how like they were in a relationship and it was consensual, and he said like, you know, like I you just let me tie you up a little bit, and we'll do some choke play stuff, like fucked up stuff like that. And then he's like, it was just an accident and I sobbed over her body. Like, did you hear him speak on that doc? Like, it's fucked up, man.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, the Pizzagate thing, they pimped her out. We'll get to the theories.
Yeah, because that was also something that I was open to that
So
like
messed up.
could have been a thing. Some background as well. Like this is going like super deep into like the case or whatever, and some people mightn't care about any of this, but so Nedra, who was Patsy's mother, supposedly had like an extremely explosive temper. Her father apparently adored Patsy, but had issues with Patsy's sister. I remember when Patsy was diagnosed with cancer, her dad asked her sister, why couldn't it be you instead of Patsy? The family was described as extremely mean and cold. Then switching over to John, his dad was a military man and was said to be extremely cold, just like John grew up to be. John had an affair and was divorced from his first wife. He had had an affair with his secretary. There doesn't seem to be any direct red flags with either of them, but Patsy clearly came from a very structured, disciplined household, just like John. There was a very weird dynamic in both their upbringings, and it seems that they both suffered from extremely cold parenting tactics. I think that Patsy eventually ended up marrying her father. In not only that John was much older than her, but he was also very controlling and was used to his word being the final say.
It is interesting when you look at that stuff because there's a lot of weird things to do with military people and people that are connected to like the CIA and stuff that are even in Hollywood. You know, we'll get to it. I would like to talk about this with an episode that we were going to do a couple weeks ago, but it'll probably be in the new year. Is the whole satanic Hollywood stuff, because like Dave Grohl's parents were involved in like the military. Jack Black's parents were involved in the government stuff with to do with rockets, and like also involved with people with the tiny little hats, stuff like it's just very strange once you start to look at the stuff. And Kurt Cobain hated Dave Grohl near the end of the band. So
Here's also something really interesting that maybe a lot of people don't know about this case. So John, because I pulled these notes into like when I found these things. So John cheated on his first wife, right, with a woman who worked for him as a secretary.
Yeah.
Then when he got caught, he blamed her for the affair and said that she was a psycho and an extremely aggressive woman.
Ha.
Then in another version that he gave, he says he broke up with his mistress when he met Patsy. And that's how it all ended. Not that he
so
got caught,
weird. Yeah,
right?
that's a good thing.
And
to bring up.
then there's actually interviews with him where at one point he tried to throw his ex-mistress under the bus as a suspect in JonBenét's murder, saying that she was a scorned ex-lover.
That's fucked up, man. That's so crazy. And like, there's so many things to this. That's why I want to get to the theories. If you want to start bringing out the articles that I sent you, we can go tit for tat on, there's the one from the Cosmopolitan, but I want to just leave some of that till after. Cause some of those are the same theories. But we'll cover some of the ones that, the Cosmopolitan one's pretty interesting because they have some weird theories on this one. Cosmopolitan.com. I think we should go with that one. Then I'm going to scroll through the other one to find weirder ones. So, we'll talk about first, bring up the Ranker article about, her brother, murdered her. Like that stuff's weird. You know what I mean? Me and River Phoenix say Dave. No, Kurt Cobain did not like Dave Grohl, and there was one incident where Kurt Cobain. I will eventually cover this stuff. I'm actually really excited to dive into Kurt Cobain at some point. Kurt Cobain was like, you know, Dave Grohl was talking about like, oh, no, it's all about the money, and then Kurt was like, or not, and like stared over at Dave like, what the fuck, man. So Maybe it was the brother. Who knows? They claim it was jealousy. People think the motivation was jealousy because his sister was getting more attention. The conspiracy theory also placed the murder cover-up blame on the parents because they were scared they would lose both of their children. This theory remains popular despite the exoneration of DNA in 2008. And then obviously Burke breaks his silence, does the Dr. Phil interview, and we will play that now.
Are you aware of these different theories that are out there? Theories that you killed your sister, theories that your mother killed JonBenét, and theories that an intruder killed JonBenét. Those seem to be the three camps that people talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we were suspects. I didn't know they were camps, I guess.
And these are people that post online. The shorthand is RDI, Ramsey did it, IDI, the intruder did it, or BDI, Burke did it. Do you know the theories that they set forth in saying that your mom killed JonBenét?
I don't know the details, but I know the ransom note, they think the handwriting matched.
Have you seen it? Have you read it?
I don't think I've read the whole thing. I've definitely seen pictures of it, though.
Did the handwriting look familiar to you at all? Had you seen it ever before?
No. I feel like the listen carefully is very distinct, and I've never really seen that. I don't know. I've never really looked at it closely because I'll see it and kind of get taken aback, and it's not something I really want to look at like a lot, you know?
Right. Does that look like her handwriting?
Honestly, looking at that, she would always bug me about having good handwriting, and she would like make me rewrite stuff to try to get me to have good handwriting, and I think it's too sloppy.
He's deflecting.
Weird dude.
His mannerisms, everything he knows. I'm convinced he knows who did it.
He also looks like some weird AI version of Elijah Wood.
That is true. That is funny. So crazy. So let's get to the theories. Finally, obviously the brother. Obviously there's the sex offender murdered her. Sex offender and homeless drifter Gary Howard Olivia Rose is supposedly was suspect in the JonBenét Ramsey murder. Lived a couple blocks away from the Ramseys at the time of the murder. He had a history of sexually abusing children. In 2000, while arrested on a drug charge, police found photos of JonBenét and a stun gun in his backpack. It says backpack, but I think that's backpack. He later then told the Denver Post that he murdered that her murder touched him very deeply, and he had felt the need to build a shrine to remember her. In 2002, Olivia was the Gary Howard Olivia Rose or whatever. He features on 48 Hour Investigates. The show alleges after the murder that he told a friend that he was in Boulder and had done something horrible to a child. He also had a poem at the time that he said it was called Ode to JonBenét. On January 11, 2019, reporters broke when investigators received a series of letters that he wrote to a friend and former high school classmate, Michael Vale, acknowledging he had murdered JonBenét, but claiming it was done accidentally. I never loved anyone like I did John, and yet I let her slip and her head bashed in half, and I watched her die. It was an accident. Please believe me. She was not like the other kids. I don't know. The investigation is still ongoing, as it says. Really weird. Yeah, I think the brother did it, but I do think she was being sexually assaulted. Maybe so fucking. I have no idea. Do you want to get into the next one?
Yeah, sure.
The dad's jealous employee.
So her dad's jealous employee killed her. This conspiracy theory is also motivated by jealousy, but jealousy of a different nature, the nature of money. The ransom note found the crime scene asked for $118,000, which is the exact amount of money Ramsey received as a Christmas bonus that year. Most kidnappers request a less precise price
Yeah.
and typically round up to a more general number like $150,000, adding further support for this theory.
It's very weird. Did John and Patsy kill her? AKA the parents were the killers. Theories range from bedwetting incident sent them in a serious state of rage, which would be very weird, but like if their strict background, maybe. Ultimately ending in JonBenét's death, to placing blame solely on her mother because she was obviously very envious of her daughter's beauty. Envious. Jesus, what the fuck can I read sometimes? Something's wrong with my brain where I'm like, also had 2 beers, but that's not an excuse. She was envious of her daughter's beauty. So envious that she decided to kill her mini-me and recruited John to help her cover it up. Some theories think so. Do I get to the local troublemaker? So weird.
Michael Helgott, a local Boulder bad boy, is a prominent suspect for the young beauty queen's death. A former employee of Helgott said that he told him a month before JonBenét's murder that him and a partner had a big deal coming up where they would make about $60,000 each. Helgott also told him that he wondered what it would be like to crush a human skull. Quite an odd and disturbing thing to say in general, but it's extra suspicious seeing as Ramsey was found with a cracked skull. After the local district attorney announced the list of JonBenét's murder suspects had narrowed, Helgott died 2 days later of an apparent suicide in January 1997. A 24 hours investigation ruled out that Helgott's DNA was present at the scene of the crime.
That's scary stuff.
It's very weird, man. I mean, that is strange to begin with. So.
Oh, yeah!
Sorry, I just picked a random sound button. It was not fitting. We all read maybe there's an intruder that, killed JonBenét Ramsey, some random intruder. I actually am going to skip over that one because I don't believe that. I'm going to go to the cosmopolitan theories and we'll switch back. So the murder of JonBenét Ramsey remains, okay, blah, blah, blah. In the book, Presumed Guilty, an investigation into JonBenét Ramsey's case, the media and culture of pornography, journalist Stephen Singler argues that the police were focused on pinning the murder on Ramsey. They neglected to consider the possibility that JonBenét was abducted for child pornography. It didn't make I didn't make the connection as much as I felt this area should be investigated by the authorities because of similarities between what I've seen online of child pornography. That's weird. In the child's murder. He explained in an interview with Computer Crime Research Center, and because I've been told by cybercrime specialists that JonBenét was precisely the kind of child, because of her beauty pageant experience, who would be sucked into the world of child porn. While at first his theory might seem a little far-fetched, it is not completely out of the realm of possibility. One of the former suspects in the case was, as we said, Gary Howard, was arrested last June after uploading several sexual explicit photographs of children to his email account. Even more harrowing, Inside Edition reports that when he was previously arrested in 2000, he was allegedly carrying a photograph of the child beauty queen with him, along with a copy of a poem he called the ode to JonBenét. Pretty messed up. Do you have that other article pulled up too?
The first one?
The Cosmopolitan one.
Yeah.
Do you want to go with the sex ring? Fuck. Jesus.
He was kidnapped and killed by a child sex ring. In 2000, a California woman told police that she believed the same child sex ring that she had been a victim of a child was responsible for JonBenét's death due to similarities in how they'd been tied up. According to the Daily Camera, the woman provided authorities with a list of specific names of individuals who were witnesses in the killing of JonBenét, as well as ongoing sexual and physical abusers of other children. However, police later concluded that there was simply no evidence to support her claims. She, the California woman, had no direct knowledge of anything that may have occurred on the night JonBenét died. Police Chief Mark Beckner told the Denver Post, this was her speculation based on what she claimed she went through as a child.
Very weird. I'm gonna skip this one about like the murderer killed himself after the death. That's possible. Santa Claus did it. Santa Claus did it. He did it. He did it.
It's magic, you know.
Sometimes there's just things that are left over on the soundboard that I'm like, could this work? No. Yeah, pretty crazy. 2 days prior to JonBenét's murder, former University of Colorado professor Bill McReynolds dressed up as Santa Claus at the Ramseys' household. This is a big theory, though. A lot of people that speculate this for the third year in a row. While there, CNN reports he allegedly gave JonBenét a card that read, "You will receive a special gift after Christmas." Statements led me to believe some sort of suspicion. What was going on between Santa Bill and JonBenét again? He is an individual who was involved with her, had interest in her, and was seen with her shortly before the murder. Original prosecutor Trip Demuth told CNN. Even more suspicious, McReynolds' middle daughter and her friend had been abducted 22 years prior to JonBenét's death to the day. That's fucking weird, bro. And another creepy coincidence that raised investigators' suspicion was a play written by McReynolds' wife, Janet, about a girl who was sexually assaulted and then murdered in a basement. What the fuck, man?
How weird is that?
McReynolds explained that to this day, it was a fictional account of a 1965 torture and murder of Sylvia Likens in Indiana. Nothing to do with JonBenét. Nonetheless, Bill McReynolds, what a name, was still one of the favorite suspects of the Ramsey family. Even though they haven't specifically called him out. They even Jesus Christ, man. Man, I'm having a stroke. They even specifically called him out in their book, The Death of the Innocents. Weird though. That one's like such a prominent thing though, is like that Santa Claus did it. You know what I mean? Like how sad is that Santa Claus is behind it? That's what I definitely heard from that's when I definitely heard, if that is the same guy, I don't know. I feel like you take that beard away, he looks like the typical, pedo.
Yeah, creepy.
So fucked up. Okay, so this is a really, so JonBenét's mother did it. We kind of already covered that. This idea goes the idea that maybe that Patsy caught her husband molesting JonBenét and then hit her in a fit of rage, which would seem how psychotic she could be. And there could be some truth to this, that maybe like she was jealous, because that you hear this in real true crime cases where stuff like this does happen. And she lashed out after finding JonBenét wet the bed. So she, very weird. Maybe it seems like they were sleeping separately. They were very distant as a married couple. She finds him involved with their daughter, and then somehow she just like her mind snaps. She's raised in this strict household. She thinks that she's jealous of it almost, and then loses it in a fit of rage. And then they stage the kidnapping and murder scene to cover up like the whole thing.
And it's weird as well because multiple times he was referred to as a ladies' man. So he wasn't known as like, okay, yeah, he was cold, etc., like love-wise, but supposedly he wasn't one for like not clapping them cheeks or anything. So, it's weird that they would sleep in separate parts of the house as husband and wife, and then he wouldn't be like, I don't know, out with ladies at night or like fucking somebody else or, potentially molesting his own daughter.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up. It's to me, it doesn't seem totally far-fetched. There's like theories that she was killed by her housekeeper, someone who loved pineapples. Seems a little weird. There's fingerprints on both her. Weird. So, traces of a sweet fruit were found in her stomach, which she was fed pineapple just before her death. Either the killer was someone who enjoyed the tropical fruit, or it was a common snack of the brother, maybe. There was a bowl of fruit in the kitchen with pineapple residue on it and fingerprints from both her mother and the brother. A juicy conspiracy indeed. That is so strange. So many strange theories. Do you want to get to the owl one?
That's just well.
Just bizarre.
One of the more outlandish theories of the bunch, so you should take it with a grain of salt. At least one source reports that it is possible that JonBenét was attacked by some sort of wild animal like an owl or a bear. Of course, that wouldn't explain how she ended up bound and strangled in her family's basement,
Yeah,
and certainly
so
wouldn't
dumb.
explain the 2.5-page ransom note. But it's also not the first time that a murder has been blamed on an owl, so who knows?
Yeah, because that literally happened with that guy that was like, he was like bisexual or something, and he was like, and his wife fell down the stairs, and then they blamed that he was bi on the murder, and how much you want to bet that some of the names connected to the Franklin connection in Nebraska will lead you to Ramsey's daughter? That's Ramsey's father through his work. That's interesting. I actually have an entire episode ready to go. It's going to be long. I don't know when we're eventually going to do the Franklin cover up, but I actually do have stuff ready for that. If we choose to do that at some point, I have a really good article about that. The staircase thing. Yeah, that was on Netflix too. That is so bizarre. She was killed by the housekeeper. I said that. This is a really bizarre one. We could get to is Katy Perry. Katy Perry killed is JonBenét. So there's a conspiracy theory on cocaine. Apparently, some people believe that the whole murder was staged to create a fascinating story. And JonBenét, now Katy Perry, went into hiding years until she resurfaced as a singing sensation. The singer's song "While Wide Awake" is believed to uncover the messaging, revealing truth about her past and JonBenét Ramsey. I would play that song if we wouldn't get copywritten, but they would definitely copyright us for that song.
Mhm.
But that whole song is a very occult. I'd just say that there's a lot of occult symbolism in that. So I don't know. What do you guys think that are tuning in the video or even on the audio? You can leave messages on Spotify, comment, like. We just support the show. Comment, like the video, do everything you can to support us. We'd really appreciate it. I'm not totally sold on this one. There's similar, like her eyes are different. There's like there's I would say there's things that are similar, but not. I don't know. I just some of them they do kind of look a little similar, but not where I'm like, wow, that's like a, you know what I mean? What do you
You know what
think?
else is
Jim?
also, excuse me, what is also strange as well, like that last comment there that someone mentioned.
The Franklin cover up?
Yeah, and just like about names cropping up in different places and stuff like that. So the ransom note or whatever ends with Victory SBTC.
Yeah. We didn't really get to that either.
Yeah, do you have anything on that, or did you look into that at all?
No. You can, go ahead, man.
So like some people were like, oh, it could mean saved by the cross, which is like a religious reference or whatever. But the one that a lot of people seem to lean on is that it stands for Subic Bay Training Center, which is a naval base in the Philippines that was linked to John Ramsey's career.
Yeah,
And
so crazy.
the a former housekeeper in his house, Linda Wilcox, offered up information that she said John had a plaque in his house that had something to do with the center. Some investigators thought that this was a reference to the SBTC, although this wasn't the name commonly used or the name that the facility was commonly known by, only by people who were directly connected to it. In the small storage closet where Fleet White and John Ramsey had looked before JonBenét's body was found, the police found a plaque with the words Subic Bay on it.
You know what's really weird about that is, I don't know, there could be some sort of connection. There's a satanic sacrifice, some sort of cult did this, right? It is weird because it seems like I do think that sacrificial murder takes place for many different reasons, but Christmas is based on a pagan holiday where they would sacrifice children to Horus. And it goes deeper than that. It goes to Tammuz, where you're decorating. And the thing is, we'll talk about this on the live stream for the Christmas special. That will be live on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody that's listening or watching, definitely tune in. Yeah, there's some sort of elite cult stuff that's going on. Is something that on Christmas in the past, and that's why I'm like, we'll talk about, like, I celebrate Christmas for spending time with my family, and you create new traditions. I do have a Christmas tree and get different ornaments. I don't use it because I'm participating in some sort of ancient cult ritual, right? Or a cult ritual. I do it because, it's just a family tradition. And even if it is some symbolism towards this or that, like you got to make life your own thing. You have to project your own energy. Alcohol is supposed to be a downer, but according to like Elizabeth April, the chick that was contact with aliens, you can like use your own intention and make it an upper, right? You can use your own intention for a lot of things. I do think occult magic is a real thing. But it is weird because imagine if she was some sort of sacrifice, some sort of ancient god, some sort of club that he's connected to, like some, cabal, elitist club. And then they were like, we already gave you money because of this and that. Now you have to pay your dues. Now you have to give up your child, right? Usually it's a firstborn child, but there could be stipulations in this deal or whatever, right? And he accumulates all this money and wealth and connection, and then they come a knocking. They're like, you got to pay for what we gave you. There, the dog's gonna freak out because I knocked. You know what I mean? Imagine if that was the case, right? Like something like, and I think anything is possible. I'm a very open-minded person about weird things that happen in this reality that we exist in, right? There's some weird ones, like it's connected to like APAC, the Asian Pacific American Coalition was an active liberal political group operating outside of Colorado University. And the request for the money was written in the ransom note, could have been code for JonBenét's time of death, which aligns well with her actual time of death around 1:18 a.m. As this conspiracy isn't even crazy enough, APAC disbanded just weeks after she died. There's some really weird shit to do with this case. And I guarantee it, if you look deep in the internet, there is some sort of crazy tinfoil. I wouldn't even say I'm crazy. I wouldn't even say crazy. Some sort of conspiracy theorist dude that's pointing like this time matches up with this, some gematria shit. That everything's connected. You know what I mean? Do you feel me?
And you know what the worst part about all this is? Like, I feel like you could sit here for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and there's no, like, I feel like I'm no closer to I didn't, like, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect to come on and record a podcast for entertainment and solve the case or anything, but, like, I'm no closer to being able to sway one way or the other and say, okay, this is kind of what I think more than anything else.
Me neither. I actually have legit, like, I have no idea who murdered this young child. And it's sad to look into her eyes and be like, what took your life, man? Laurel Canyon music scene of the 1960s, the CIA Operation MKUltra. There's all these connections, right? Even like according to conspiracy theory site Unhived Mind, it doesn't exist anymore. If I click on it, wow, it doesn't exist. Of course, because they take down like anything. There's a really good site that I liked, and we can find the way back machine, but they took down one of my favorite sites for episodes. Load, you piece of shit. And there is a connection to 9/11, and this one goes actually pretty deep. And then no wonder they took down this guy's site. According to the conspiracy site, JonBenét was murdered by the Royal Canadian Air Force, a colonel operating on behalf of the major British and American corporations and the Illuminati because her father refused to assist America's enemies in planning 9/11.
Get a life, Jews.
That's scary stuff.
Well, if anyone wants to know who did 9/11, just look up the dancing Israelis. You should find your evidence there.
That's fucking weird.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy. I like you, but you're crazy.
What a case, man. What an interesting case. There's like, oh, she was mauled by wolves. There's so many different theories. And as I agree with Aaron that we'll never be able to find the truth about this. So before we end this, I want to play one last clip and then we'll kind of finish it off because it's, I could talk for another hour about like this speculation, this, that, you know what I mean? I see you're reading stuff. So I'll play this and then we'll get to our final thoughts.
Dude, there's too much. Like, I feel like it's like, every time I click on something, it's like another 25 things. And I'm like, wait a sec. But then if that and if this and if that happened and if they done this, and I'm like, wow, it's actually like too much.
We could probably recover it at some point. Not recover it, but do a shorter live stream of maybe really taking apart some of the puzzle pieces.
And you know what as well, like I would always feel like that, like, let's say I was the one who had committed this crime. You wouldn't want it to be, a JonBenét Ramsey level or a Madeleine McCann level case because it's too much attention. It'd be like, Jesus Christ, I'm gonna get caught. But then at the same time, this one has gotten that much like Madeleine McCann. It's gotten so convoluted now that it probably suits whoever actually done it because it's
100%.
Like there's too many. Like there's a million different theories, and none of them seem to be higher than the other. They're all just kind of like, well, we don't, whatever.
It's just like this ether, right? And everyone's like picking at these certain parts and trying to like solve this puzzle piece. There is a missing piece that it seems like nobody knows though. And maybe it was them messing up the evidence. There are so many things you could point to of, because we are peeling the onion, as one of the fans said. So let's play this.
Was JonBenét's killer lurking in the audience as she competed in those little girl beauty pageants? The new Netflix documentary series, Who Killed JonBenét Ramsey, is reigniting America's most challenging cold case. It reveals that the parents of other competitors were creeped out at who showed up at the pageants.
The families were there. They knew each other very well from going to a lot of these pageants. So anyone who was alone, especially male, alone, was scrutinized, observed.
In the early days of the case, cops investigated this photographer, Randy Simons, who took these haunting images of JonBenét and for a time was a person of interest. Inside Edition spoke to him in 1997 about her final photo shoot.
This is a very special day.
He defended the heavy makeup and adult clothes JonBenét wore.
It's really a matter of lighting and what you can bring up into the facial features and the lips to show expression on camera.
But there were other images he allegedly kept on the wall of his dark room, according to the new Netflix documentary.
When the police went to his studio, his photography studio, they found some inappropriate pictures of small children.
In 1998, Simons was arrested, running naked in the street, shouting, "I did not kill JonBenét." Simons' DNA does not match DNA found at the scene of JonBenét's murder, but his life went into a downward spiral. In 2019, he was arrested in Oregon for, get this, child pornography. He's currently behind bars until at least 2030. In 2016, we spoke with some of the girls who competed with JonBenét. Brandy Veal still has all her pageant paraphernalia. She performed in a dance troupe with JonBenét and took this picture with her at a Christmas party a week before she was killed.
Pageants was a big part of my life, and there was such a stigma around that I didn't want to go there for a while.
Thumper Gosney also competed with JonBenét.
I remember her personality. I remember the spunk she had on stage.
The whole thing is just weird.
Weird choice of words there.
I know, man. The whole thing is just weird and creepy.
I don't know if I was being interviewed about her though, I would say, "Oh yeah, it's unforgettable the spunk she had." Huh?
Yeah, I know.
Probably wouldn't use that reference, but
It's
okay.
and like them being like, oh, the stigma around it. Yeah, you were parading around in like little outfits. That whole thing is fucking weird, and it will always be weird to me. So very interesting case. I'm glad we covered this. I think we did it justice. Like, you know, I think being able to wrap it up in one part makes so much more. Jesus, trying to fucking click on that stupid song again. I was JonBenét. You me with a fucking rope. You know, like it's that guy's song is just bizarre. Yeah, I appreciate everybody that tuned into the live. You know, and when I wanted to do our own spin on this, you know, it's kind of came into the limelight again. I've actually always wanted to cover this, and we were going to do it a couple of years ago, but I thought this was the perfect time to. I don't know. I still don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. What's your final thoughts? Because I'm still like, I'm just perplexed. You know, you could say I don't really know. It's just
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I feel like sometimes like most of the time I'll have like some sort of like conclusion I will have come to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know, dude. Like there's so many things there. While that video was playing, I was reading another thing. The head of the Boulder County sex abuse team, Holly Smith, said that when they went into the house and they were going through all her belongings and stuff, that they discovered a drawer full of stained underwear, and said that it looked like JonBenét constantly either wet herself or shit her pants, which was an immediate red flag.
That actually points to sexual abuse too.
Yeah, 6-year-old doing this is not normal. And yet the Ramseys never stopped denying that their child had never ever been abused. This lady gave her report, and she was a literal professional who was specifically trained to watch out for signs of child sex abuse and had 20 years of experience. JonBenét was
This stuff is hidden so well with some families, man.
soiling herself on a semi-regular basis, and she concluded this was not a mere wiping issue.
That's fucked.
I mean,
That just disturbs me, man. And that is a sign. So like, what is? I'm almost leaning more towards the idea that they pimped out their daughter to God knows who. Maybe that's, you know.
and it's funny because that also became a pretty big storyline in the Madeleine McCann thing as well, that it went down that road.
Well, I'm not really convinced. Like, there's some people that reach the status of fame and fortune that, you know, actually do work hard. But his connections and the 9/11 thing, and I'm sure connections, if you really look deep enough, to certain people, and I don't know. It seems really weird. And there's a possibility that, okay, like Paul Bernardo, right? Where they try to drug Tammy, Carla Homoka's sister. We have an audio episode of this out that me and Billy covered many years ago. It's actually pretty old at this point. You know, and they drug up Tammy, and then they accidentally give her too much drugs and she dies because Paul Bernardo wants to he always fantasized about Karla Homolka's younger daughter. Something happens, and then they cover it up, and they say that she got too drunk and she choked on her vomit, whatever they claimed, right? So part of me thinks that, and maybe it was the brother abused also, and that's why he's just so standoffish and weird.
But here's before we I suppose finish this out. Here's a really interesting theory. So someone says, I admit I'm probably like most people and don't have a fully fleshed out theory. I don't have an explanation for every single odd tangent that one can trace in every direction from this incident. But I also feel like it could be somewhat obvious. When a child is sexually abused, it's almost always a close family member or a friend. Right away, I favor one of the Ramseys or close relatives over a random stranger. JonBenét had evidence of chronic sexual abuse in addition to fresh abrasions when she was taken from this world. She goes missing from her own home, which arguably had no sign of forced entry. The basement window had been broken for a long time with no evidence of the dust being disturbed, nor the suitcase beneath it, in the middle of Christmas night. And she is killed with items that were found in the home belonging to the family. A ransom note was written on her mother's stationery, pad, and pen. The fibers from her mom and dad were found in her panties. Yes, doing laundry or caring for a child could absolutely cause that, but when you look at the totality of evidence, the idea that a stranger did it seems simply implausible.
Yeah, I agree.
People who claim Burke did it blow my mind, so I'm not going to linger nor argue on this one. But look, even if a little boy killed or nearly killed his sister, no parent goes through after that with violently sexually assaulting and strangling their daughter to death and dumping her body in the basement. If they weren't already willing to rape and kill their own kid, or had done something similar to this before. I find this an asinine theory. No offense, it just doesn't compute for me. My subjective, half-baked theory, I think John had been molesting JonBenét, and I think Patsy is a very gullible, naive, and malleable and sick woman who lets herself be manipulated by her horrible husband. She says she was too out of it and too sick from JonBenét's murder to even feed herself. But John Ramsey ensured that she was showing up to those media interviews, it seems at least. I think he loves controlling the narrative. If he gave a damn about JonBenét, he wouldn't have stopped cooperating with the police, and he wouldn't have kept feeding the media fuel for their Burke did it fire. If he cared about Burke, he would have stopped stroking that fire long ago. Yet here he is every year saying, I know who did it, but the cops won't listen. If he cared about Patsy, he'd have let her grieve in peace. Patsy was a weak woman who deferred to John. I don't see a world where she killed JonBenét and he helped cover it up or believed her to be innocent somehow. I think that he killed her, and I think he convinced Patsy in some way to help him cover it up, whether through lies or manipulation or both. I also see women like her in these types of stories willing to hurt their kids for their husband. For example, see Into the Fire Netflix documentary, or even the Menendez case. He's out here gratifying himself, knowing that he is controlling the narrative, knowing he got away with it, and knowing he's lived a long life and will likely never see prison. He's sick. End of story. But why did he get away with it? The incompetent police department, in my theory, made so many blunders that they would have had to reveal their ineptitude in order to begin truly working on solving the case. I believe that John's money and influence also helped him greatly, but I don't think it was a grand scheme to get a rich guy off a murder charge. Just he had a lot of influence, knew a lot of the right people, and had more grace given to him than anyone else would have. If this had happened in the home of a poor trailer park family in Louisiana, it would have been a much smaller media story, and the parents would have been in prison for the rest of their lives. In short, I can't help but feel that John Ramsey is either directly the source of the murder or closely involved.
Makes sense. Honestly, that is a very good breakdown, because it makes sense, man. It's definitely someone close, and as a honestly, if you look at him the way he talks, I was like, oh, maybe, he's telling the truth and stuff like that, but there's something emotionless about the way he speaks.
Yeah, and I know I've done it like this entire episode, but he reminds me so much of when you look at Jerry McCann. Very same thing, very clinical, very cold, very just like matter of fact about everything. Doesn't seem to get too emotional one way or the other. Even when he's like when people have kind of confronted him in interviews, he doesn't really ever get like put out of his character. He kind of, his rebuttals are always very robotic and very like.
Yeah, we can cover that in the new year. Maybe we'll go live for it too, because like it's so, we could speculate all night long, right? That's a good breakdown because I just feel like he definitely is involved. And like what sociopaths and psychopaths do is they revel in the fact that they weren't caught. Some of them like to be caught.
Yeah,
I just feel like he's like, I've outsmarted you, and he could have connections that we don't even know about. They're like hush hush. Some of the people he knew, some of the people he worked with. So yeah, everybody out there, I thank you very much for joining us on this live stream. For all the people catching it late, definitely rewatch it, like, comment, share it. We appreciate anybody that supports the show. 5-star rate and reviews. You can buy merch on the site. Like I'm wearing the Class Horrorcast design. It depends if you want to go live on Rumble. I'll shoot it to mine. We got something going on Thursday that we're going to do for Class Horrorcast, a little watch along.
Something really fun.
So something really fun about elves. It's a fun time. We're gonna we'll broadcast it to at least Rumble because we won't get copyright on there. Appreciate everybody. Yeah, thanks, fellas. Great show. We're trying our best, and I true crime has always been something that I'm like really able to dissect. Especially me and Aaron. We found this, especially when we started the show together, and we found this niche of how we could. Especially with true crime cases, we're both.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like the Toy Box Killer. If you guys have not watched or listened to that episode,
that is wild.
It's wild. So we covered that, and that was like, we started to show our true chops. Even another podcaster, Shane from Inquiries of Reality was like, of our reality. I always fuck that up. But like, he was like, man, how did you guys were joking and laughing about that shit? And he's like, it's so fucked up. And I was like, you gotta laugh or you'll be crying. Right.
Yeah.
So make sure to like, support the show. You can buy merch. Everything should be in the link tree underneath every episode, whether you watch it or you listen to it. You can click the link tree and you'll get like everything from my music, even to the podcast website, to merch, to our Instagram, our X, all of that stuff. Follow us wherever you can. I'll really appreciate it, especially on Instagram. Strange Brew Podcast is where we're most active. Try to be active on X. So that's Strange Brewcast. It means a lot for the people that tune in and that support the show. You have no idea. We're reaching more and more people all the time, and it warms my heart because I know we're gaining more and more people all the time. And I've spent a lot of time and effort into the show, even the time where we've had over 100 episodes taken off, put on Patreon for people for extra content. But this show was a slow start, but we finally gained, I think, our presence and how to do this podcast thing. And I think we're getting better and better at it all the time. So, Aaron, shout out your stuff. And everyone, tune in Thursday. We're going to be doing something on Rumble, especially at Class Horrorcast on Rumble. Stranger Podcast also cast it to my stuff. And then Sunday, football, not football. We're going to be doing our Christmas special, okay? It's going to be a Christmas live special, 2 p.m. Eastern time this Sunday, December 22nd, whatever this Sunday is. Make sure to tune in. Even the people that are listening on audio, tune into that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Aaron should fucking be there for once. And Billy's definitely going to be there.
What is the Christmas special actually about?
We're going to do paranormal. We're talking about paranormal Christmas stories. And then Billy's going to bring some fun facts that I got for him because Billy does not do any research into the show.
Nice. Yeah. I love that. I don't know how he's able to do that. Get by with doing zero research.
I know. He just comes in and reacts to everything.
But somehow he's able to do it.
I know. He's got that comedic presence. But shout out your stuff and then we'll bring it to a close.
Look, much the same as what Tom said for both shows, really. The link tree, you'll find everything from there. I'm on X at class_horror. On Instagram, probably most active under First Class Horror. Have classhorrorcast.com. We have t-shirts and stuff. I'm going to rework all that stuff coming in the new year. I'm going to rework a lot of things with the show and switch up and have, mini episodes and really push the Patreon and stuff like that and do a lot of exclusive stuff that I've neglected for the last 12 months. But yeah, I would say the best place to keep I guess, an eye on what we're doing on my side would be on Instagram. That's where I am most active, but I do try and post on a lot of other platforms. But it just doesn't, I don't know, for some reason, horror content, much like true crime, much like conspiracy stuff, it does kind of get pushed to the bottom of the pile on a lot of these platforms, which sucks. But
Everyone
yeah,
wants to talk about politics, and it was like, this guy's better than this guy, and like it's just like
boring. Like, this is boring.
I know, man. The amount of
so
people
boring.
that are like, PP Trudeau P versus it's so garbage to me. I'm like, all these politicians are parasites. Did you realize that? You political content is because everyone's kind of concerned about the future of the world and the war and politics and who's in power. They're all parasites. They're all actively working on your destruction while they enrich themselves. So please stop paying attention to anything that's being said in Congress or the House of Parliament, the House of Commons, Parliament, whatever. Stop paying attention to it, man. These people are just going to eat you alive, as my song said. So you can support my music also, The Raptilian, on YouTube. We're going to make a music video for my new song, Parasites in Parliament. I will keep going on and on. It is the same bird, yes. So everybody support the show. We love you. Like, comment, all that stuff. And we appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. And stay strange, fuckers.